Hi, thank you for tuning in to the San Mateo Public Library. My name is Mary. I am a children's librarian, and today I'm going to bring you 3 staff picks of juvenile fiction. All of these books are going to be included in the virtual summer book club for grades 5 through 7, and all of these books will be available to download via Hoopla Digital. So as long as you have a public library card, you can download these books. There's no wait list. Hoopla books are always available. The 3 books that I want to talk about today are Sal and Gabi Break the Universe by Carlos Hernandez, Night on Fire by Ronald Kidd, and The Doughnut Fix by Jessie Janowitz. The first book I want to talk about is Sal and Gabi Break the Universe by Carlos Hernandez. It's part of the Rick Riordan Presents imprint. An imprint is a small spin-off publisher from a much larger publisher. In this case, it's Disney. Disney approached Rick Riordan, who's a very popular children's author. He wrote the Percy Jackson books, he wrote the Aru Shah books. They approached him and wanted to create a imprint of his books, and then Rick Riordan said, why don't we focus on mythology of other countries instead, and maybe, cast some light on some authors who would be talking about other mythologies than just Greek stuff, because Greek stuff has been done. So Sal and Gabi Break the Universe it's comedy, it's sci-fi, it is a story about a boy who can tear holes in the universe. And he's also a magician, like a card trick magician. So he balances between, sleight of hand, pulling tricks on people, and also using his powers to make those tricks happen. Sometimes he tears holes in the universe and brings back his dead mom. Sometimes he brings back dead chickens so that he can stuff them in people's lockers. His dad is a scientist and studies the effects of these metaphysical tears. And unbeknownst to Sal, his friend from school, her family also works with his dad on these metaphysical issues, or I guess quantum physics issues. So they team up together, Sal and his friend Gabi, and they basically tear through the universe together for a little while. They try and save Gabi's seriously ill little brother, and they tackle a lot of themes, a lot of issues. Sal is a Cuban American who has moved back to Miami from Connecticut, where he was raised. So he's sort of a fish out of water who's learning to fit back into his own culture where he initially came from. Since everyone around him also speaks Spanish now, he's sort of readjusting to that. There's a big theme of Cuban folklore. So since the kids at school think that he's a magic man, they call him a brujo, they call him a mago, they warn him against the ojo, the evil eye. So that's where the Cuban folklore themes come in, and Sal has to grapple with that and figure out if that is his place. There's a lot of other themes. There's death, there's acceptance, there's friendship, there's science, there's unconventional families and mixed families. It's really funny, it's really intelligent, it's a long read, but it's a good read, and there are fart jokes. So I highly recommend Sal and Gabi Break the Universe by Carlos Hernandez. It's also the first book in a series, so if you really like the first book, there's more coming. The next book that I want to talk about is Night on Fire by Ronald Kidd. Ronald Kidd is a long-established historical fiction writer for juveniles, and he also wrote the book Monkey Town, The Summer of the Scopes Trial, which was a book based on a historical event that a lot of people don't really talk about anymore, and that's another reason why I would recommend Night on Fire, because Night on Fire is about the Freedom Riders, which is a subject that does not actually get a lot of coverage in the juvenile historical fiction genre. It's set in 1961 in Alabama. It's about a teenage girl named Billy who recognizes that with the Montgomery bus boycott and the Freedom Riders, things are starting to happen in the civil rights movement. And this girl named Billy recognizes around her that segregation is wrong and racism is wrong, but there isn't much change happening in her own town and in her own community. So as she starts to recognize the injustices and oppression of the Black people that are in her life, she starts to make the changes that she wants to see rather than waiting for it to happen. So this book is really an interesting book for themes of allyship and advocacy. It's about recognizing your privilege. There's a criticism about this book that the protagonist would be better served if it was a Black girl, and I do agree with that. But I also believe that having the protagonist be a white girl is an important audience surrogate for readers who are finding their own ignorance of racism challenged for the first time. So in that way, that is important. This book is also important because it contextualizes the events happening in the Black Lives Matter movement of today and the protests that are taking place. The civil rights movement of the 1960s started with the Montgomery bus boycott and the Freedom Riders and continues through today. This book helps to emphasize the importance of it back then and how important the civil rights movement still is now. My last book pick is The Doughnut Fix by Jesse Janowitz. It is the story of a 12-year-old boy who moves with his family from New York City to a much smaller town. It is a much smaller town that doesn't have any of the things that he loved about living in a city, which is mostly its very bustling food culture. This boy, Tristan, is very much into baking and pastry making. His mom is a chef, and they're a very close, tight-knit family. So he decides that since his new town doesn't have a donut shop, he's going to open up his own donut stand. And the great thing about this book is that it actually does go into the sort of nuts and bolts of entrepreneurship, especially if you're a 12-year-old. So things like budget, supplies, actual production, and these things are really important to learn, especially from a young age when you're thinking about starting a business. So it's a really fun book. It's light, it's short, it has some family drama, but nothing out of the ordinary or too scary. I would recommend this book for ages probably 5th grade and 6th grade, and it's just a lot of fun. And there are donut recipes at the back of the book that sound great. If you like these books, you can also check out their sequels, Sal and Gabi Fix the Universe and The Doughnut King, which are the sequels to Sal and Gabi Break the Universe and The Doughnut Fix. Both of those are available to download on Hoopla Digital. Thank you for tuning in for staff book picks. Stay tuned for more recommendations from staff at the San Mateo Public Library. Thank you for tuning in. Make sure to visit our social media for updates from the San Mateo Public Library, and we will see you next time.